As you start to learn more about PHP, you're going to want to have some references for where you can look things up. A great resource is the PHP manual. This is accessible online by going to php.net/manual. When you put this address into your browser, it's going to reroute you based on your language. So it's now showing me the manual in English, but you can just put that address and it'll reroute you based on where you're located. This manual is going to list every function and feature of the language, and the manual is going to discuss general concepts as well, like installation, syntax, variables. It is going to also list different functions by topic, such as MySQL, string functions, and so on and so forth. If we go to the manual and we search for the print function, which is one that we used in our last exercise, it's going to go ahead and take me to a page that's going to describe that particular function. So it's listing the print function, and it's going to give me some information. The first line here is going to tell me the name of the function, followed by the version of PHP in which it's available. So print has been around for quite some time. As the language grows, some functions are added and older functions might be removed or deprecated, so it will list that there. There's also going to be a textual description of the function along with the function's basic usage. So the usage is kind of the most important part and sometimes can be the most confusing part, but you can see print is going to output a string. Here under description, it's going to let me know how you can utilize this. The first value here is going to say int or init, and that just says that the print function is going to return an integer value. Specifically in this case, it's going to return 1 always, which means that it's true. That's the only option that it can really be for this particular function. Within the parentheses, it's going to list any arguments or parameters if the function does take any. So here it's saying string argument, which is really stating that the function takes one required argument, which should be in the form of a string. So you've already seen this in action. This is what it is that you want it to print out. And it lets you know that print is not actually a real function, it's a language construct. So you're not required to use parentheses with its argument list. And we saw that in the last exercise where we just put print and then we had the quotes and we went ahead and listed what we wanted it to return. And it also says the major difference to echo. Echo is another thing that you'll see that we use a lot in PHP, is that print only accepts a single argument and always returns 1. So this is a great resource for you. It's going to give you examples of how you can use this particular function. So you can see there's lots of different ways. You could use it with the parentheses, you can use it without the parentheses, and just the quotes like we did. You can pass on variables. So this is a great resource because it's going to give you information about how you can use these various functions or fields within PHP. So if you are confused or having some problems, I would recommend that you check out the manual. And just as a comparison, I'm going to have you search for another function. This one is going to be NL2BR, which is going to insert an HTML line break before all new lines in the string. So you can see it gives me a description of what that is. It's kind of like the equivalent of pressing return or enter or entering an HTML break tag. This function is going to return a string, and it takes a string as its first argument and as an optional Boolean of true or false as the second argument. The square brackets indicate the optional arguments, and they're always going to be listed last. When a function does take multiple arguments, they're going to be separated by commas. So if we were going to use this function, if we scroll down here to one of the examples, you can see we're echoing and we're adding this function, and it's going to say welcome. This is my new HTML document, and you can see that it's going to return false in this case. So as this function's definition indicates, the second argument has a default value of true, meaning that it'll create the BR tag, which is XHTML compliant, unless the function that's passed to the second argument has a value of false. And in that case, the function is going to create just standard BR tags. So if you have this set to true, it's gonna create the XHTML BR tag, which has the self-closing tag. And if you set it to false, it's just gonna do more like an HTML5 BR tag. The most important thing that I want you to remember about the PHP manual is that it exists. So if you're confused by a function and how to use it properly, check the PHP manual because it's a great reference for you. So all you have to do is go to the search box, search for the function name, and you can hopefully get some information that will give you some ideas of how to use it. And the PHP manual does always give some examples of how you can actually use that particular function. So that's going to be a good resource for you. It's going to be especially helpful when you want to find out like how many arguments a function can take or what type of data the functions should return. So sometimes you're going to have problems with something. This is a good resource. I would certainly point you into this direction so that you could try to figure out why you were having that particular problem.